In this lesson we'll take a look at how we add borders and colours to our spreadsheets to make them a little bit more attractive. We'll also be using some of the techniques that we've used in earlier videos. I've opened up the spreadsheet called Newspaper Sales 1 from my data drive, and as you can see at the moment this spreadsheet looks very plain. To give you an idea what we're heading for, I've got an example of what we're going to make this sheet look like by the end of the video. So here you can see we've resized the headings at the top here, and we've also added some color to them. And in the main data area itself, we've added some background color to the cells, and we've applied some borders so that the data is a lot easier to read. So let's go back to our main sheet. And the first thing you'll notice is that newspaper sales and week 1 are on the same line. So the first thing we have to do is to move this week 1 down underneath the main title of newspaper sales. And we can do that by inserting a new row just above row 2 of this sheet. I'm going to click on the row heading, the number 2, and I'll come up to the ribbon in the cells tool group, and I'm just going to click the bottom half of the insert button. When I do that, it'll give me a list of options here that I can choose from. This is the one I'm after, the insert sheet rows, and when I click on that one, it'll put a blank row underneath the main title here. Okay, so I'm going to select cell B1, and what I want to do is to move that down here into cell A2. So I'll get my cursor just over the edge of the selected cell, and you'll see the cursor shape change to this 4-pronged arrow. If I click and hold it there, I can then drag and drop that entry just under the main title. Okay, so let's work on the main title, newspaper sales. What I want to do with this is to make it a little bit bigger. So I've selected the cell, I'll come up to the font control group, and I need the font size option. When I click the down button there, I'm going to come down and make that size 18. So now the main title stands out a little bit better. Let's come down to week 1, and we'll also resize this one. This time we'll choose size 16. And when I click on that, the font's updated and has now become size 16. Okay, let's now work on the titles of our data area. So I'm going to select all of the cells down there from A3 to A11. And what I want to do is put a background fill color into these cells, and I'm going to be choosing a pale blue. So again, I'll come up to the font control group, and I have a tool here which is called the fill color tool. Again, this tool is split into 2 halves, and if I click on the actual paint bucket at the moment, it's set to a pale yellow color, but I don't want yellow, I want blue. So I'm going to choose the down button to open up the color palette, and I'm going to come down into the color palette and choose one of the pale blue options available in the list there. If I click on that one, then you'll see that that blue color has been added to those cells. I'm going to apply the same color to the titles along the top, and as I've already selected a blue color, you'll see that the fill color tool now has that color preloaded. So all I need to do is click the paint bucket, and that color will be applied to the titles in the top there. So now what I want to do is to put a background color on my totals for this spreadsheet. So first of all, I'll select the totals there in column H from cell H4 to H11, and I'm going to give these a pale red color. So again, I'll come up to my fill color tool, and I'll click the down button to open up the color palette. And in here we can see that we've got some shades of red that we can choose from. I'm going to choose the lightest shade of red there, and when I click on that, that color is then applied to my totals. Got some more totals along the bottom here. I'm going to highlight those, and again the tool color now is that same red color. So all I need to do is click on that paint bucket, and that will add the color to the totals at the bottom of the spreadsheet. So the paint bucket is the tool that we use to fill the background color of our cells. Let's change the color of the text for the title. If I click on cell A1 and I come up again into the font control group, this is my paint bucket that I use to fill in the background. I don't want that one this time, I want the one next to it, the font color, and I want to change this text to red. Currently you can see that the text color selected is blue. So I'll need to click the down button to open up that color palette again. And as I come down and hover my mouse over the different colors, you can see the live preview and see that text changing color. I'm going to come up here to the red option and click on that one, and that will set my title text to this red color. Exactly the same process for the week. I want this to be a blue color. So again, I'll come up to my font color tool, and you can see that the current color selected will be red. So I'll need to click the little down button next to that font color tool, and this time I'm going to choose this blue color from the standard colors list. And if I click on that, that applies that blue color to my week 1 title. Let's now format our numeric data area. That's the area just inside here, and this is the area where we would add our information about the numbers of papers we've sailed on a particular day, and they get totaled up in the red area by formulas. But we're focusing on the actual data area itself in the middle here, and what I want to do is to fill this in with a pale yellow color. So again, I'm going to go back to my fill color tool, and this time when I click the down button, there's not really a yellow option available in the list here other than this very bright yellow, and it's a little bit too bright for what I want. So I'm going to come down to more colors at the bottom of the color palette, and when I click on that one, that will open up the color dialog box and give me this prism of colors here, and in there I can see a pale yellow, so I'll click on that, and it does give me an example of what it's going to look like down in the bottom corner here. So if I'm happy with that, I'll just choose OK, and when I click away, you'll see now that that yellow has been applied. Okay, so it's time to add some borders, and it's best to work from the inside out when you're creating your borders. So I'll select the data range or all the yellow cells that I've just formatted, and what I want to do is to apply borders to all of these cells. Now again, up in the font control group, I've got my borders button, and it's currently set to one thick border all the way around. Well, that's not quite what I'm after, so again I'll click the down button beside that, and what I want to apply in this case is all borders, and if I click on that one, you'll see the borders appear in my data area, making that information a little bit easier to read. Now what I want to do is to place a border right around the entire outside edge of my data. So I'll begin by selecting the entire data area, and again coming up to the borders tool in the font group, and if I scroll down here, you'll see the thick box border option, and if I click on that, that will place that thick border around the outside of my data. Now I can also use that thick border to apply some borders to the other parts of the spreadsheet. So let's start off at the top here, and we'll first of all highlight this section here from B3 to H3, and we'll place a thick border around that. And again, because it's the last one I chose, the tool itself now is set to thick border style. So I can click on that one, and that will add that thick border just around the top there. I'll do the same thing at the bottom here, highlighting all the numbers along the bottom, and apply a thick border to that. And when I click away, you can see the effect it's had. Now this section of data, you can see that it's got a thick border along the bottom and the right edge and along the top, but on the left hand side it's still that thin border that we applied to the yellow section here. So I'm just going to highlight that total section there and apply a thick border to that one, and that will just correct that little discrepancy there. Similarly over this side, I've got thick borders at the top and bottom. I've actually got a thick border as well along the left hand side, but we can't see that because that's right on the edge of the spreadsheet. But if we were to print this, it would show a thick border along that left edge as well. And when we look down the right edge of this blue area, you can see that we've got some thick borders in the top and bottom here, but then the rest of it reverts back to the thin border. So all I need to do is to select the entire area here and apply that thick border. Then when I click away, you'll see that it all looks a lot neater now. So let's compare this with our original. If I just click over to sheet 1 and back to week 1, you can see that I've made the worksheet look very similar to the one that we were after. I might well have used slightly darker colors in the original one when I compare it to the one that we've just done. So that's how we add colour and borders to our spreadsheets to make them a little bit more attractive.